Ranks and rank insignia of the Soviet Armed Forces in the period 1943 to 1955 were characterized by a number of changes in the armed forces of the Soviet Union, including the reintroduction of rank insignia badges and the adoption of a number of higher ranks changes. In conjunction with the permanent increase of the manpower strength of the Soviet Armed Forces, the service branches and arms were formed by orders of the People Commissariat of Defense, consisting of Artillery, Air Force, Air Defense Forces, Signal Corps, Corps of Engineers and the Armored Corps. Major combat support units up to command level were established. This process was characterized by a need for well-qualified command staff in a suitable rank structure. The Soviet state and party administration responded to these challenges by the introduction of additional higher ranks, as well as by reintroducing the traditional Russian rank insignia. A new rank grouplet of 9 level was introduced, named Marshal of the Branch, a Chief Marshal of the Branch. In January 1943, the ranks of Marshal of the Air Force, Marshal of the Artillery and Marshal of the Armored Corps came into existence. In October 1943 it was followed by the additional ranks Marshal of the Communication Troops, and Marshal of the Engineer Troops, and the equivalent Chief Marshal of the Branch ranks were added. Generalissimus of the Soviet Union. The highest rank of Generalissimus of the Soviet Union was created in October 1943, as an individual award to Stalin, the head of state and party chief, and functioned as supreme commander on all Soviet armed forces. Promotion to this rank was limited explicitly to wartime. The instruction was conveyed by an order to the front commanders-in-chief on 26 June 1945. Ranks and distinction insignia for the land forces and air force. The introduction of new distinction insignia to the officer corps of the Red Army came by order of the Presidium of the Supreme Soviet on 6 January 1943. Selected were 2 versions of shoulder straps or epaulets, one for everyday uniforms and the second for field use. On 15 January 1943 the introduction of new uniforms was decided. Corps colors. Corps colors, agreed and created in 1935, remained in use, but minor changes took place. The padding of the newly introduced shoulder straps were made from wool cloth, designed in branch of service colors with piping. Command staff wore silver or gold stars and characteristic metallic branch badges. Corps colors, enlisted men and non-commissioned officers. The shoulder board padding indicated the appropriate corps color of service branch. Corps special appointment, with colored border piping. Infantry, padding raspberry, piping black. Aviation troops and Air Force, sky blue. Cavalry, deep blue with black piping. Artillery and AMP, Armored Corps, black with red piping. Medical troops, veterinarian service, dark green with red piping. Technical troops, black with black piping. Corps colors, officers up to Colonel, Army generic infantry, motorized rifles and logistics, raspberry. Artillery, Armored Corps, medical troops and veterinarian service, red. Aviation troops and Air Force, sky blue. Cavalry, deep blue. Technical troops, black. Corps colors, officers above Colonel, Army generic infantry, motorized rifles and logistics, deep red. Aviation troops and Air Force, sky blue. All other uses, raspberry. Any other insignia regiment numbers were placed on other ranks' shoulder straps along with the emblem of the armed service branch, special troop, or appointment. For commanders of battle units or task forces the emblem was gold-colored. For others it was silver. Enlisted men and non-commissioned officers, officer up to General of the Army, Marshal up to Generalissimus. Shoulder straps, field uniform. Shoulder straps to field uniforms, standardized to all service branches, were made of khaki wool cloth. The piping indicated the service branch, matching the corps color. Colors of the rank: piping infantry, motorized rifles, raspberry-colored; aviation troops and air force, sky blue; cavalry, blue; artillery and armored corps, red; medical troops, veterinarian service, dark green; technical services, black. This specific shoulder strap design was used in the Red Army 1943 until 1946, as well as in the Soviet Army from 1946 to 1955. Enlisted men and non-commissioned officers, officers up to General of the Army, Marshal to Generalissimus, ranks and rank insignia of the Soviet Navy. By decree of the Presidium of the Supreme Soviet on the 15th of February 1943, on distinction insignia to the Soviet Navy, the introduction of shoulder straps and epaulets took effect, marking the DE of Imperial Russian Navy-style insignia to the Soviet Navy. As the Navy also had coastal services, ground ranks similar to the Red Army were introduced with the respective insignia to be used by the coastal service personnel. These ranks were also used by the Navy's Medical Corps.